tale of two halves in South Philadelphia today, but the second half is where the party got started. Ronnie Mcleod picks off Jake Fromm for the INT. Next up, the Giant Killer himself, Boston Scott, punches in a 3-yard touchdown. And Devonta Smith with a little toe drag swag in the end zone for the touchdown. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Lane Johnson catches a touchdown pass for the score. Welcome into the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni here with Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. Guys, the first half, it was looking a little rough. I would love to know what Nick Sirianni said at halftime, because then the players came out in the second half, really turned it on. Jalen Hurts played great. The defense played well all 4 quarters. A much-needed win here today, and they got it done.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Coach Sirianni gave them the fire and brimstone speech at halftime to sort of wake them up, right? Because it seemed like they were sleepwalking through the first half. Short week, played a game on Tuesday night. He's not going to use that as an excuse. Neither will I. I'll just look at it this way. They got off to a slow start, but they were able to hang in there. And in the second half, you saw where getting turnovers and getting a short field was able to help them prevail in this game. The biggest thing in that first half was the Giants never had to get out of their comfort zone because the Eagles didn't force them out of their comfort zone. Once the Eagles did that, you saw the scoreboard start to run up in the Eagles' favor.
And all of that is all well and good. All that's great. But, guys, we got a thick 6 today. A Lane Johnson touchdown. Can we run that back? The Lane Johnson touchdown? I mean, it's so rare that we get to see an offensive lineman reach the end zone. The first touchdown by an Eagles offensive lineman since Todd Herriman's back in 2010. Just awesome to see Big Lane get in for pay dirt. One of my highlights from the 2021 season, if we're going to be honest.
Absolutely. Caps off a little Lincoln leap, too. I like the high step in the end zone. That was great. Let's talk about the first half first, okay? Bad news first, then we'll get to all the good stuff, okay? We talked a lot in the kickoff show about Dallas Goedert and the great 2 games he has strung together against the Jets and Washington. The Giants have his number a little bit, kept him quiet in the first half, didn't haul in a pass until the second half. I thought that was very interesting. I think the Giants game planned pretty well for Dallas Goedert, but of course it did give other guys opportunities too.
Yeah, and this league is about matchups. You know, one of the things that Fran and I talked about this week on Eagles game plan is what the Giants like to do on defense with their sub packages. So you get these athletes out there, they could be a linebacker or a safety or a DB, right? Yep. So you got a guy that's big enough and fast enough to run with Dallas. And he's always going to get extra help paid towards him, extra attention paid towards him. But the Giants seemingly have done a nice job on tight ends all year long. Dallas in the first game, I believe, he only had 1 catch versus the Giants, or maybe 1 target versus the Giants in that first game. So I'm not totally surprised there. A lot of it is, you know, that Giants defense saying we're not going to allow 88 to beat us today. You're going to have to go somewhere else with the ball.
And look, all's fair, right? A couple of those plays are on Dallas as well. A couple tough drops for him in this game. One on that opening drive. He had one a little bit later as well. So just unable to connect with him to the level that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. But the Eagles were able to find some playmakers in the second half.
Yeah, well, sticking with the first half and their playmakers, Devonta Smith, 3 receptions for 75 yards at halftime. Of course, none of those converted to a score, unfortunately, in the first half. But the rookie came to play today. We talked a lot about him in the kickoff show because he has been a little quiet the past few weeks, but not today.
Yeah, and I like some of the play designs from the offense to sort of get Devonta open. You know, he is such a great route runner, and when he's running those crossing routes, he gets those DBs to get on their horse, and they're starting to chase him. I saw some plays where we moved Jalen out to one side of the pocket. We would run a little bit of a banana route with Devonta, and Jalen has enough arm strength to get the ball back to the other side. So just doing some different things to try to free Devonta up, because when you're the number 1 wide receiver, you draw the most attention. You're going to draw James Bradbury and some safety help over the top. So then it becomes, how do we get him freed up? And I thought they did a nice job, at least in that first half, getting him some open looks.
Yeah, and I talked about just creating that separation and how he was able to get open. I loved him at the catch point today. To me, when you saw some of the catches, obviously the touchdown was big time. You talked about the two-toe drag swag down there along the sideline. We see that play here coming in for 6 points. An outstanding catch. But how about that 48-yarder from the first half where he went up and attacked the football, took it away from the corner in James Bradbury? I love what Devonta Smith has done at the catch point lately, capitalizing on those opportunities, Ella. That's what we talked about earlier on the kickoff show, was that ability to come up big when your number is called. We saw that from Devonta here in this game.
That 48-yarder was a career high, and we also saw big plays from Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor as well. That's why Jalen Hurts is at the top of the league in big plays right now, because he can throw it down the field when he needs to, and he has receivers who can haul it in. But we're going to actually check in with Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, who's over at Lincoln Financial Field. Dave, they got the win. We were just talking about the first half. It was kind of the tale of mistakes and miscues. But Nick Sirianni obviously had a good message at halftime. What do you think was the huge turnaround in the second half?
Well, you know, Ella, I just talked to Ronnie Mcleod as he came off the field. He's the one who got things going with the interception. Great pass rush from Jannard Avery there. But it was just the Eagles knew they had to get something to seize the momentum of the football game. And the defense was on the field first, play number 2 of that second half, and Mcleod came up with the big interception. So I don't think it was anything particularly that Nick said, but certainly everybody, as they were walking off the field, it was a pretty tough first half, and the players were not pleased when they came off the field. So everyone understood what they had to do. They had to take control of the football game, and they went on a blitzkrieg in that third quarter. 31 unanswered points turned the game around. So credit to the Eagles. After a really, really sluggish first half, they poured it on in half number 2.
Dave, you talked about Devonta Smith. We talked about him a little bit earlier. I'm interested to get your thoughts on the rookie's performance. Then also that touchdown. I mean, you've been around this team for a long time. You've been watching the NFL for a long time. Have you ever seen a review process like that one where the call is announced and then reversed after extended review?
Yeah, so now I'm not quite sure if I understand what exactly happened. It was ruled a touchdown. Then upon review, as they review every scoring play, it was overturned. And then did the Eagles challenge? I think the Eagles may have challenged that review. And so then it was reversed back to the original call. Remarkable catch. Look, last week, that was one of the great catches I've ever seen Devonta on the sidelines. Today, that catch falling out of bounds, his ability to get the left foot in and then the right toe in and control the football while being pushed out of bounds going backwards. His body control is incredible. Fran, you talked about him at the catch point, the way he went up in the first half for that great catch. Just the way this young man is able to keep his body under control, catch everything. You never see a bobble going out of bounds. And to get his feet down like that, this is the stuff of truly special talent. And Devonta Smith has that.
Yeah, I think sometimes, Dave, we almost have to pinch ourselves to realize that, you know, a guy that's making plays on the sideline like that, we just aren't accustomed to seeing that, and Devonta's going to be making plays like that for a lot more years in Midnight Green. I want to talk to you a little bit about Jalen Hurts, though, at the quarterback position. Ella brought up the first half and how we sputtered. What'd you think of Jalen's play in the first half of this game?
Well, I think that it was too similar to what happened on Tuesday night against Washington. And, you know, you have to polish this stuff up. I respect and certainly
Dave, I have to cut you off. I'm
please.
sorry. We have Devonta Smith at the podium.
Okay.
How you doing? I'm good.
Tell us about the touchdown, Devonta. Did you know you were in, even though there were so many reviews?
Yeah, I mean, like when I get on the sideline, I got a second sense, so, you know, it's kind of my thing.
Have you ever seen referees review a review before? What was going through your mind when this was all going on?
Nah, I ain't never seen that one.
When you say it's kind of your thing, how long has that been the case?
I mean, I would say past few years. I mean, just kind of, as you play the game, you just kind of get used to it. Kind of, your awareness kind of goes up. You kind of just know where you are.
You had a kind of sideline catch last week, and then you had that touchdown catch. Which one was better, do you think?
I would say the one today was better. Just because I was going backwards, so it was just kind of like, I had to drag my foot a little bit. Kind of felt like Michael Jackson.
How much of that is body control as opposed to just awareness?
A lot of it. I mean, you got to just, with your momentum, you just got to know how to have your feet and things like that. Just what you can do.
Is it just reps over and over again?
Honestly, I wouldn't even say it's reps. It just kind of just happens.
What do you think the slow start for the offense?
I mean, just finding our groove. I mean, come out, things just wasn't going our way. So, I mean, we just had to find our groove, make some adjustments, and, I mean, that's all it was.
How important was it to see Lane Johnson score that touchdown?
Oh, I mean, it was big. I mean, the drive before that, he was calling himself. So, and then when they did call it, it was just like, knew it was going to be touchdown. I mean, it's big. We've been repping that for a while.
Devonta, last week, Jalen had a shot to you down the middle, and you were mic'd up saying you lost the ball. This week, a very similar, area, and you were able to pull it in. What process there?
Just didn't take my eyes off of it. Last week I took my eyes off of it for a second and I lost it. This week I just didn't take my eyes off of it.
Devonta, the Giants wanted to draft you and the Eagles came up and made that trade. Does playing well against them for today, the rest of your career, does that mean a little something extra?
I'm here for a reason. I'm glad to be here. So, that's going to be every game, not just that game. Every game I'm going to go out there and give it my all.
I think the first pass was to you. Was there concerted effort after what happened last Giants game where you didn't really see the ball a lot to get you involved right away?
That's just the play calls. We have plays that we know we're going to run. The first possession, the coaches called what they had to call.
On the touchdown, you did that little motion thing back and forth. Was that? Just explain to us what the point of that is against the defense.
Just to kind of get the defense lost. You know you're on the goal line. They're probably going to play man. So just to kind of whoever guarding you, just to get him going.
A few nice pass breakups this year too. Do you have any corner in your background?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of my background. Before the receiver thing, I was a corner. So.
What do you think about the state of the team here with 2 to play?
Say it again?
The state of the team with 2 to play, what do you think?
Just every week. Just keep chipping away every week. Just going out there, taking it day by day, and just chipping away, just every little 1%.
Take 2 more for Devonta. What was Nick's message in the locker room?
How things wasn't going our way. Defense played great today. Offensively, things wasn't going our way, but we adjusted. So just being out there, knowing that in games you're going to have to adjust. Just make our adjustments. We know what we got to do. Go out there, correct our mistakes, and move on.
Okay. Thanks, Devonta.
Is Ashley getting this one?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I haven't looked yet, but yeah, sure. I might not even get it. I might just ship it straight home.
It looked like you were just ready for the batted ball right away. What did you see on that play that led to the interception?
Yeah, obviously they were running a lot of that empty, so we kind of knew, disguising coverages, obviously I'm moving around a lot in those. And so we kind of knew, once I moved in, they were going to go back to that side. So, obviously, I thought they were going to throw it on the out, and Rod was going to get the pick, but obviously he cut back in and Rod broke it up, and just right place, right time, really.
Alex, even when they switched quarterbacks, it seemed the defense maintained its intensity. What do you notice from and then as opposed to Glennon, being able to keep that pressure?
Yeah, obviously we watched a lot of, Glennon during the week. Like he's been their quarterback for the last month, and so we just knew they were going to kind of run similar things with Fromm, and they kind of changed it up a little bit. Obviously, they ran the ball a lot more, and then so when they went back to Glennon, we knew what they were going to try to go to. He was obviously more, they were throwing more shots with him, a lot of the bites and stuff outside, and so we knew once they switched it, we knew what we were going to get.
They were only averaging 2 yards play through 3 quarters. Did you ever feel like they could seriously move the ball on you guys?
No, we knew, we knew what we had to do to win this game. We know what happened, against them last time. We knew, we needed to create plays on defense, and we needed to stop them, and kind of, the saying, step on their throat, the whole game, and and that's what we were able to do, and just give our offense, as many opportunities until they got going. And once they did, it was just kind of we can continue to play the way we did.
Was that the point of emphasis, kind of creating turnovers and making plays to help the offense out?
Yeah, we've been saying it for a few weeks. We know as a defense we've been playing well, for the last month, just not enough turnovers, and that was kind of the emphasis. Obviously, it's always been our emphasis. We talk about it all the time, and so to be able to get those and give the offense more opportunities, it's what we want to do, and we were able to do it today.
For you personally, your whole career's kind of been up and down. This year's kind of been up and down. What does a moment like this mean to you to make the play that ices the game and sort of does what your defense asks?
Yeah, it's nice. Obviously, it's exciting to be able to do that. Obviously scoring now 2 years in a row in the NFL. I scored once in college my sophomore year, and you kind of don't get those opportunities. And obviously even for me to just play in the NFL, is a privilege every week. So to have those opportunities and be able to do this for this team and the way we're trending and, the guys in that locker room, it's exciting to be able to do that and, just continue to, press on because, we know it's in front of us and, we obviously it's Washington and then, hopefully we just continue to roll.
Do you feel like the fact that Nick's dialed things back on practice as early as way back in November helped you guys on a short week like this?
Yeah, I think, with how our schedules have been, like you said, obviously Wednesdays being double walkthroughs, this week wasn't really a shock to us. It was kind of the same routine. We just didn't have, I guess a Monday, Tuesday. We just kind of went into a Wednesday day, on Thursday and Friday. So it wasn't as big of a shock to us. We came out of the last game, healthy, and we were ready to go. You guys know, you asked us all week, if we were going to take what happened last time in MetLife into this game, and I think, we showed that obviously we did.
What was this week like, sort of physically, just with the tight turnaround, and also, not having Nick in the building?
Yeah, obviously the tight turnaround. Me personally, I love when we play on a short week. I say it all the time. I would take a basketball schedule. So, I'd rather play every day. So, I enjoy it. I think, we handled it well. Obviously, with Christmas as well, it can be a tough week. You were going to have a shorter practice days, whether or not we played on Sunday or Tuesday. So, as a team, obviously we handled it very well. Everyone put in the work they needed to. And, same thing with having, Coach obviously out. It was different, but I think, we stuck to the game plan. Whether or not, a coach is there, we're going to continue to work. And, with Zoom and everything nowadays, you're pretty much in the room whether, he's not a player, so you can FaceTime in and be pretty much there the entire time.
Alex, you said you took what happened at MetLife and applied it. In what ways?
Yeah, we know, we lost the game we should have won. And so to, come off of that, and as a defense, no, we didn't create any turnovers that week, and we needed to. If we would have had 2 or 3 like we did today, it would have been a different game. And so to be able to remember that and come out and play the way we did, it's huge for us as moving forward.
Touchdown.
That was sick.
Speaking of that, Rodney's interception, to start things off in the second half, how big was that? Not only for you guys on defense, but it seemed to get the offense going too.
Yeah, it's huge. I think, obviously you guys know, this stadium gets rocking, every stadium, but when you come in after halftime, stadiums are always, people are still in line, it's not as hyped up. So it's nice, especially as a defensive player, when the offense goes first, because, they can drive down, and by the time they score, everyone's back in. And so when you start on defense, it's a little empty. You don't always have that, crowd momentum in a game like this. So, to obviously, 2-3 plays in, to have a pick like that and give the offense a short field is huge in that situation.
Thanks, guys.
That was linebacker Alex Singleton, of course, recording his second pick six, the first coming last year. Big day for the linebackers. Obviously, the defense as a whole. Fran and I talked a lot about the kickoff show. We're actually going back to the podium. Nick Sirianni.
What's the name of the play call to Lane?
East Texas. Some of those gadgety ones you don't try to name everything because it's hard to name it all. So you kind of come up with a specialized name, and Lane's from East Texas, and that's what we called it.
Devonta said it was a play that he had been talking about during the game. Lane, did you hear that, and did you go with that?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Devonta said that Lane had been talking about being open or running that play throughout the game. Is that true?
Well, Lane wasn't eligible until that very play, so Lane couldn't have been open. I don't know. I don't know what Devonta is thinking right there. But we had a lot of confidence in the play because of the way we practiced this week, and just confidence in Lane. Lane's a phenomenal football player. I don't agree that he's not in the Pro Bowl. I think that you got a chance to have a guy who's going to be a first or second team All-Pro and not in the Pro Bowl. And so it was great to be able to get him a touchdown. He just deserves so much credit, so much more credit than he's getting. This guy is just. I've never been around an offensive tackle that is as talented as this guy is. He could play tight end if he wanted. You should see him throw the football. This guy is so immensely talented. I just got so much respect for him, and it was nice. It's always great when you can reward guys that don't get in the end zone with a touchdown like that. And so I think it was his first touchdown since high school. I'm sure he scored a lot of them in high school because the guy's just a stud, and just so happy that he's anchoring our offensive line, and look forward to the accolades that he's going to get because he deserves them.
Nick, how long you been repping that play? Has that been in for a while, or is it?
That's not a play that can be in each week. We've had it in the plan before. When it fits. Again, it doesn't fit against every team and every system, so. It's been in the plan before, so we've had reps of it, but it hasn't been in a couple weeks. So again, just a great job by our coaches and our players. You know, the detail of how the coaches installed the play, and then obviously the detail of the way the players executed the play. You know, being able to accomplish that in a short week.
Do you feel like the short turnaround in your absence this week affected?
I don't. You know what? Our defense played an outstanding game. We all know that how they came out and they were hitting them right from the beginning. Obviously, you never want to start a game on special teams by putting the ball on the ground right to start. JJ was there to get the fumble recovery, but you don't want to do that. You know, we definitely weren't executing the way we need to execute. But I got so much respect for that defensive coordinator and that defense that we just played today. I think that's a really, really outstanding defense. That's a great defensive line. That's Coach Graham, I think, is just a really good coordinator that I've had a lot of respect for a lot of years now. So, again, you got to say, anytime you start off that way and you only score 3 points in the first half, it's always going to be, you know, we didn't coach well enough for sure. We didn't play well enough. But hats off to them because that's a good defense. So it's a combination of all three. But I don't put anything into the short week. This team's handled adversity all year, you know, through different things, and that's just what you have to do in the NFL. You have to handle adversity, and because it rarely is going to go the way you think it's going to go, just perfectly smooth the whole time. And our teams handle adversity, and I think that has a lot to do with who our leaders are on this team and our captains. You know, with Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and Ronnie McLeod, Jalen Hurts, Alex Singleton, Brandon Graham. Those guys lead the way, and you know, so just a lot of credit to our leaders on this team.
The offense scored 24 straight points coming out of halftime. What was said to the offense and the team when you guys were back in the locker room?
You know, just that, hey, good teams win games however they need to win games. You know, if we have to grind this out and be grimy and let the defense carry the way the whole time, we'll do it that way. But, hey, just have that next play mentality of forget the first half and have that next play mentality and come out and ready to go. And they definitely did a good job of, you know, of coming out and forgetting that. They did exactly that. They forgot the first half and they executed in the second half.
Nick, from your perspective, why was Jalen so much better in the second half than he was in the first half?
Again, it was just, I think that's a combination of just how our entire offense played. He definitely missed some throws in the first half that he's going to want back. And I thought he went to the right place with the ball. I know there's a question about, you know, Bob prepped me for a question about a red zone play that we threw to Quez over the middle. Guys, when there's guys breaking this way and breaking that way, you have to alert a certain player, which I'll just try to explain to you as much as I possibly can without giving anything away. You alert a certain player, and then your read starts somewhere else. So our alert was to Dallas versus a certain coverage. It wasn't that coverage, so now, you know, we read shallow to angle, and that's what he read. So his eyes aren't there. So I'm not one bit concerned. Like, when you give a quarterback and you say to him, you know, when you know their reads as a coach, you don't ever get on him when he misses something like that because it's not a miss. His eyes went here to here, and Dallas is only a pre-snap read. We don't know. Jalen doesn't know that they're going to they busted the coverage. Jalen doesn't know at the beginning of that play that they're going to bust that coverage. Like, they made a mistake. They were out of position on that particular play, and that was the read. And so I want to make sure that everybody understands that. And so, again, he didn't play his best first half, and when he plays good, the offense rolls. And he did a just great job bouncing back that second half. And again, it's just not Evan Jalen. We didn't play good in the skill positions. We didn't play as good as we played on the offense line. We didn't coach as good as we needed to coach in that first half. So, but again, just a credit to Jalen to rebound and play a good second half, because that's what good teams do. They find ways to win.
He did not run much today, Nick.
If the season ended today, you guys would be in the playoffs. Obviously, it doesn't. You guys a couple games ago, but what does that say about how far you guys have come? I mean, especially after the start, and it's pretty remarkable, no?
Yeah, I think again, it just speaks to the leaders that we have in this team, and the fact that we knew adversity is going to come. That's just the way this league is. Adversity hits, whether it's a 2-5 start, whether it's a postponement of a game and having to play 2 games, play a game off a 13-day rest or whatever it was, and then play a game off 5. I mean, that's what happens in this league. So you try to prepare yourself for adversity and be able to handle it. And that's the whole message that we've talked about from the beginning of just dog mentality, next play, next play, next play. Jason Kelsey gave a message to the team last night, which was awesome, and his message was press on. Bad things happen, press on. Press on, press on, press on. He was awesome talking to the team last night. He's just such a great leader. And so it all comes back to the types of guys that we have in that locker room. A ton of credit, obviously, to Howie and his staff of how they've assembled this team. I said to Howie in there, Howie said, great job coming back from a 2-5 start. I said, Howie, great job. Like, what other first-year head coaches are in the position I'm in? We have a great offense and defensive line. Usually, when there's a new head coach, it's because the offense and defensive line aren't any good. And so it's just been a great team effort, a great organization that we're a part of. And then it always comes down to these players and the type of leaders that we have.
A couple more, please. The Kelsey thing, actually, is that abnormal, or do you have somebody address the team every week?
Well, it's been 12 weeks. 1 through 12 week, I addressed them. They were probably tired of hearing my voice, so I changed it up, and that's something I've done in the past. I've been on teams that have done that in the past. Frank's done that. Let your captains hear, talk at the end of the year and get the guys ready to go on the Saturday night. I've always had good experience with that.
How big was the interception by Ronnie Mcleod? You guys had that pick, set up a score. You had a pick 6 later in the game, iced the game. I mean, all praise to Jalen and the receivers in the second half, but your defense won this game for you.
They played incredible. There's no doubt. The defense kept the game a game when it wasn't going well, right? And huge play by Ronnie. Unbelievable rush by Jannard Avery just to get pressure on the quarterback in the game that they played up front. And so you get that pressure, he sails the ball high, and Ronnie gets a big play. And it was 3-3 at that time, I believe, right? And that was their first drive of the second half. I mean, that was everything, right? I mean, you end up going up 7. The defense feels like that they're not going to get any more points, and we're like, we're up 7. We ain't freaking losing this game because the way our defense is playing, and our defense knew that. And so obviously they played unbelievable. It was just, again, it was the whole game of the pressure, how good they were in the run game, how good we were, covering and taking away some of the dink and dunks, because that wind was blowing a little bit more than I think people realize out there today. It didn't look bad like in certain spots, but you see the flags up at the top. They were humming. And so just a great job by our defense. And then the pick 6, obviously that was huge. It put the game out of reach. We were able to take some guys out after that. And again, it always starts up front, and just a great job by our defensive line, and then trickled down to everybody.
Our last touchdown, what was your vantage point on Devonta's touchdown? And it seemed like a strange review. It seemed really clear what was happening there.
Yeah, I think there might have been, I don't know exactly, but I thought it was a touchdown that they were reviewing, and basically something happened. It might have went to a TV commercial. I don't know exactly what happened, but they came back, and the time when I thought they were reviewing it, whatever was happening, and then they decided to review it, and hey, I'm just glad it counted. I don't know. It felt like a long time. We had to wait for it, but I thought the refs did a good job, and they were communicating with us the entire game. Again, their job's never easy, and I value what they do out there.
What about the catch itself?
Oh yeah, just Devonta's been really good on the back line and on the sideline all year, and that's something you got to learn, right? Because you only have to have one in college, right? And so he's just been really good and clean with his footwork on the sideline for his first year. I mean, he's a technician, and it's just not. And the guy loves football and wants to be better at football. And we know that a guy can go from here to here because of the technique he plays with. And so Devonta works endless hours to do that. And he had the catch like that last week where he dragged the foot from behind. So great job to Aaron Moorhead of drilling that as well. I know he drills that every single day. And then Devonta obviously playing with great technique.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Did I miss anybody?
Head coach Nick Sirianni crediting the defense, and rightfully so. The past 4 games, they've allowed an average of 14.5 points. Very impressive by Jonathan Gannon and that entire defense. We heard from Alex Singleton earlier, who had a great game as well. But we got to talk about Ronnie Mcleod and the defensive line. A huge part of Ronnie McLeod coming up with that opening interception was the pressure Jake Fromm was feeling up front.
Yeah, I thought it was big time. I'm watching that game. You kind of get a feel for what the crowd is sensing at halftime, and there was some nervousness, around this game. And
Ike, I have to cut you off. Boston Scott at the podium.
Boston Scott.
Boston, you're known as the giant killer, but Lane Johnson's the guy that kind of put it away today. How good do you feel for him, having been around him as long as you have and knowing what he went through this year?
I mean, just him battling through, things off the field, too. I have a tremendous amount of respect for that dude. And just being able to see him, the smile on his face after all the work that he's put in. I mean, he's been an elite, one of the best to do it ever. And it's always fun to see big guys get into the end zone and get an opportunity. It's cool.
Boston, what did you learn about this team during the past 6 days?
I've always known that they're a tenacious group, fight through anything and stay close-knit. We don't let what's going on the outside or anything like that interfere with, the camaraderie and the brotherhood we have going on inside of that locker room. I love those guys, man. I go to war for them every week.
You ready to be the lead guy if it's Miles and Howard out?
Who's that? What's that?
Are you ready to be the lead guy if those
Anytime.
guys are?
Anytime.
Your 4-yard touchdown came over the left side. It looked like a pretty big hole there.
Big hole. I didn't do anything. It was all the offensive line. I just ran into the end zone. That was it. That's all them.
Any guy that you really saw make the block there, land?
Yeah, I mean, it was Herb. Herb is the one that sprung me, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Sorry, Boston, what was said to you about the neutral zone infraction that kind of just wiped out that big run that you had? Did the referee say anything?
No, I hadn't heard it. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it whenever we get back into the facility.
How were you guys able to kind of keep everything together as bad as you guys were playing in the first half on offense? I mean, it seemed like you guys were struggling the whole half.
Well, I think we just, I don't know, man. We just stay calm, because the last thing you want to do is panic. You don't want to get emotional. You don't want to feel like you have to do anything over the top. We just have to take it play by play, stay present, So that's what we try and do. We all hold each other accountable, and we all motivate each other. So we keep it calm, we keep it focused.
You were a big factor on a team 2 years ago that made a late run to get into the playoffs. Do you see any similarities, connections between what you guys did in 2019 and what's happening now?
It's 2021, so we're just focusing on it one game at a time.
When you say, Boston, that you always knew that this team was able to overcome adversity, how did you know it at 2 and 5?
Just through how we continued to battle at practice. We've had obviously like undisciplined losses, and it can be kind of hard to after that week after just to kind of go, but everybody remained focused, everybody remained locked in, still had energy, still had juice, and guys are continuing to love on each other, push each other. So there was never any panic. Just always let's work more.
That's 8 touchdowns now for you in 6 games against New York. How do you make sense of that? Is there anything like personal with this team, or what is it?
It's an NFL team. I mean, it's I don't know. I'm just out there doing my job.
You had a fumble in the last game against the Giants in the fourth quarter, and then you were able to score a touchdown today. Did you take anything? Did you have any special feeling because of that, or did you feel anything special because of that?
Not necessarily. I mean, that was a mistake. Like I said, I was committed to correcting. Just wanted to make sure that being in the game, if I got my opportunity, just to focus in on the fundamentals and just do my job.
Thanks, Boston. Thanks, Boston.
Of course, that was running back Boston Scott. The running game looking a little different today. Obviously, Miles Sanders ruled out at halftime. I mean, it's not bad that they had more passing yards than rushing yards. Just looked different, not what we've seen from the Eagles in the past several weeks.
Yeah, I think the Giants made a conservative effort to at least try to slow down the Eagles' running game. We talk about the last game that they lost to the Giants. We only scored 7 points. They still rushed for 200-plus yards in that game, I believe, or close to 200 yards. So if you're the Giants, you're saying to yourselves, this is what they like to do. we have to get them out of their comfort zone. I thought they did that in the first half, but then again, the defense, special teams in the second half came alive and gave the Eagles the ball in field position where, I mean, they scored points, but they weren't long drives. So that's where some of the yardage comes off of what the Eagles were doing.
And especially early on in this game, in that first half where things obviously got a little bit dicey. Offensively, they just could not get things going in the pass game or in the run game. Too often, they were in 3rd and long, and now you're forcing yourself to be throwing the ball first, right? And so that happened too often in that first half. They just could not get things going on the ground.
In the kickoff show, when we spoke with Dave Spadaro, he mentioned maturity of a team. And I think we saw that today. When you're assembling a new team and a new staff, you don't know how they're going to grow throughout a season. And so I think we definitely saw maturation today because the first half wasn't pretty. I mean, everybody knows that. Luckily, there's a defense in place that can keep the game within reach. They were never out of it by any means. Right. They went to halftime tied at 3. But we definitely saw character building today and certainly maturation from really an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, this was going to be a defensive-led game early. We saw it. The Eagles came out, that first drive, I mean, there are 2 plays there when you include the kickoff return that the Eagles could have turned the ball over early in the game. So you kind of got a sense that this may be a little bit of a slow start. And that can happen at times with offenses when you need to be in rhythm and have synchronization when you're calling plays. But from a defensive standpoint, if you're not facing a quarterback that can threaten you down the field, then you're going to be able to sit on your heels and just wait until he makes a mistake. Darius Slay had a play on the interception in the first half. I think the sun kind of got in his way there a little bit, so he dropped it. That led to 3 points for the Giants, I think. Other than that, I thought the defense held this Giants offense in check for the entire game. It was only where we may have shortened the field for them that their offense did anything for the most part for 3 quarters. And when your defense playing against the likes of a Jake Fromm or even a Mike Glennon, and no disrespect to those guys as NFL quarterbacks, but they know they don't want to win the game off of their arm. And the key for the defense is let's put the ball in their hands. We're not going to let you run the ball. You're going to have to throw it. And there were some opportunities there early. They just didn't capitalize on them. In the second half, the quarterbacks made those same mistakes, and we took advantage of them. That interception by Ronnie Mcleod on that first drive was huge. I mean, it really was huge for the Eagles team.
Yeah, and when you look at it, you highlighted some of those mistakes, and it happened at all 3 phases, right? You had missed opportunities on offense, dropped interceptions on D, fumbled footballs on special teams. What happens then as the team starts to bounce back? You get a long punt return on special teams, Jalen Reagor. You get those interceptions, big plays on offense, full team effort, and they win.
Everyone's getting cut off today. Fran, you're the next one. Jordan Mailata at the podium.
The offensive line celebration like when Lane Johnson scored that touchdown?
We should have spent more time figuring out a celebration. That was, I don't know. It was like half ballroom dancing, kind of like half making it up on the spot, half Lincoln Field leap. It was a mess.
How cool was it to see, though?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm not gonna swear, but it was fucking awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome, man. I'm so happy that he got a touchdown, and for Lane, a guy of his caliber, he deserves it.
So why? Because it's an offensive lineman, or because it's Lane, or it's because what Lane went through this year? Why?
It's all 3 of those. He's it's Lane. He's an offensive lineman. I mean, big man touchdowns are, everybody loves to see that. But when you actually know the guy and you play with the guy and you know how much he gives himself to the team, you love that for him.
How much has he meant in your? I know Jason Peters kind of took you under his wing, but you were on the right side, I believe, for a while. How much has Lane influenced you since you got your chance here in Philadelphia?
Just as much as JP. Lane and JP were like my older brothers here when I first got here, and the amount of detail that they emphasized every day and made sure that I was self-correcting instead of, relying on the coaches to tell me what to do. They would teach me how to coach myself and holding me to a higher standard. And that was JP and Lane's just thing. They always did it. They were never shy to offer help, and that's one thing that I'll never forget.
So will you start lobbying for a touchdown of your own now, do you think?
That's a great question.
That's a big Twitter
question.
thing.
Is it a debate right now?
It's a big Twitter thing now, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say
if the people want to see it, the people want to see it. But I'm just going to do my job as a left tackle. I still got a lot to work on. So.
Hey Jordan, do you feel better about the way you played today compared to Tuesday?
Yes. I mean, I know the effort I gave today, but the film don't lie. So I'll let you know again later on the week when I watch the film.
How's the ankle feeling?
It's great. Told you it was a stupid question.
Yeah, you did. What was the difference between the first half and the second half from an offensive point of view?
I think with the short turnaround, I think you could really feel the effects of that short turnaround in the first half. Sorry, excuse me. And I think it was just the rhythm. Rhythm was off. So once we came back out in the second half and we found that rhythm again, we just kept it going, and it was great. It was good fun.
Nick mentioned Jason Kelsey's speech last night. What can you tell us about that?
Press on. Yeah. Effort to the whistle, effort to the end of the play. Just press on. Keep pressing on.
And why is Jason such a good messenger for that message?
Because he believes in it. And when you have somebody who believes in something so much and you listen to him, you believe it yourself. He inspires people,
Statistically right now in the playoffs. I mean, does that mean anything to you at this point?
The only thing that means the most is the next game. We're going to look at this film, we're going to make the corrections, and then we're going to move on to the next game because that's the most important.
Is Lane the kind of guy who kind of been lobbying for a while to get a chance to score a touchdown?
No, he's not that kind of guy. Lane just puts his head down and works. He's one of the hardest workers in the room. Gifted athletically, he's insane. So he just puts his head down, he works hard. We watch him, he inspires us, and then, we figure out these trick plays, and I'm like, oh yeah, what about me? Like, oh, okay, I'll just play left tackle. So, it's all good.
How big a deal was the turn?
With this team during the past, if you think about all that's happened with this team during the past 6-7 days, what have you learned about this group overall?
Perseverance, and even just Kelsey's message to press on, to keep pressing on, next play mentality. The grit of this team, you can feel it. Our, passion for each other. Building that brotherhood, that's the one thing that Coach Sirianni emphasizes us on, building that brotherhood. And you can feel it in the critical parts of the game when you need to lean on each other. Special teams making plays, defense making plays. You just play for each other. And I think the last couple of weeks, we're starting to notice that, and we're going to keep building on it.
How big was that turnover at the beginning of the third quarter? Nick said it really maybe spiced the offense a little bit too. Ronnie Mcleod's pick.
Oh, Ronnie. I was like, which one? Sorry. I was like, which one? Memory's kind of foggy. Yeah, it was important. It was very important that we got that very crucial moment of the game, and we had to make sure that we capitalize on it. When we get gifted a pick like that, you can't let it go to waste. So the momentum definitely shifted from then on, and then we just pressed on. Thanks, guys.
Ronnie Mcleod.
Made that big pick to start the second half.
That was huge. Coming out in the second half, to be able to put our team in the position that I was able to, I think it created a lot of momentum, and that's what we talked about at half. Just coming out, man, and really showing who wanted it more. And so, I think we responded the right way. My interception helped, and then we just kept rolling from there.
How about on Alex's interception, the one you deflected? What was that play?
Yeah, so they ran a lot of empty sets today, and a few times, most of the time they were doing option routes with Tony backside. So Singh and I, talked about, I think something happened before that. They didn't run it. They lined in that formation, and we said, hey, if he goes out, I'm jumping it myself. If he comes in, then he'll be in the spot, and happened to make a great play. I actually was looking for the ball on the ground because I knew I broke it up. I didn't know it got in that he picked it. I just see him running, man, and it was another huge play for us.
Ronnie, after that Las Vegas game, you spoke to the team and said, are you committed to making this run? I know it's not over yet, but you guys are sitting here 8-7. What changed?
Just our continued belief in one another, us figuring out ways to get better as individuals to help this team out. And, it took a lot of hard work to put us back in this position that we're in today. But like you just said, man, it's far from over. And all we can do is just take it one step at a time. That's been our mindset as we've been in this playoff mode, right? And just take it one game at a time. And we do that, man, we'll end up where we need to be.
The Giants are averaging like 10 points a game over the last 5. Did you ever think they could move the ball on you guys? Like, did you ever think they were a real threat to move the ball?
Honestly, they have a lot of great players over there, who've proven themselves in this league. So you never can take that for granted, and understanding that you got to put records, beside, records aside, they're going to show up and they're going to play hard, right? Because, one, it's an NFL game. 2, we're very profitable individuals, and it's a division opponent. So I didn't know what to expect. I think we just came out, man, and dominated from start to finish.
Any memorable reactions to Lane Johnson's touchdown on the sideline there?
Man, impressive hands. I'm like, Jalen, you got to take some zip off the ball, man. It's a lineman, but he put his hands up there. He caught it. I was hyped for him, man. Very excited to see him score his first touchdown. I thought he was going to show us some of his dance moves, but I think he just jumped in the crowd. But that was pretty cool to see.
Ronnie, after Malcolm left before last season and then losing Brandon, early this season, BG, did you feel like you needed to take on a greater leadership role? Did you feel like you just kind of needed to continue to be the guy you've always been? How did their kind of absences affect what you thought your role in the defense was?
And those are 2 great players, who've made a lot of plays for the Eagles defense over the years since I've been here. But I feel as though I just need to continue to just be myself, allow my voice to be heard when needed. And, the team's responded well. It always hurts when you lose a guy like Brandon, guy of that caliber who's, played in a lot of games and contributed at a very high level. So we just always say next man up, though. And that's what you've seen. Younger guys on that D-line stepped up and filled the shoes, and we've now relied on guys like Sweat and Derek Barnett to play a lot more than maybe they were asked initially. So it's been good, and obviously we're starting to hit our stride when we need it the most for these meaningful games.
How defense is playing, Rodney?
I think we're playing, very well right now. The biggest thing is reset. It's going to be another challenge next week versus a good Washington offense. They'll have, their quarterback back, and we have to show up. Nobody cares what we did this week or last week. It's all about what you do that next Sunday.
It's our first time speaking to you in a few weeks. You were one of the guys who was not happy with the game being pushed back, of course, and then obviously Nick was out this week. How do you think you guys handled these past 6 days?
I think we handled it the best way that we could. And at the end of the day, I don't think any of us were happy about it, but the stage was set. Those are the cards that we were dealt, and we're pros, man. And at the end of the day, we can line up on Wednesday, we can line up on Saturday. It's all about how we show up, how we prepare, and how we execute come game day.
You've probably heard Jason Kelsey give a lot of speeches over the years. How did last night compare?
Very emotional, and that's what you expect from a guy like Kelsey. He's very passionate about this game. We have a lot of respect for him, and his words were felt, and it was heard loud and clear. And so, we went out, and today was exactly what he talked about: it's perseverance, pushing through. Didn't start off the way that we all envisioned. It was hard. You heard the boos going on. It was tough, but we stuck with it, hung in there, and found a way.
How do you feel about the boos?
I've been here for a while, man. I know how it goes here. Philly, man, passionate city, but they love us dearly, and you gotta love it.
The effects of the quick turnaround?
Huh?
Did you, or do you feel like your defense felt the effects of the quick turnaround? Jordan Mailata said, or it might have been Jordan, might have been somebody else, said, yeah, you could tell in the first half that there was a quick turnaround.
Man, defensively, I felt like, man, we didn't blink. We understood what the assignment was, what the mission was, and we made that choice and decision that we weren't leaving out of here with nothing short than a win. So I'm proud of the defense, the way we played, proud of the entire team because, like I said, no matter who they have out there, it's hard to play the way that we did and dominate a team the way that we did today. So, 24-hour rule, we'll enjoy it, but now it's on to Washington.
Big veteran presence from Ronnie Mcleod the past few weeks, especially since he returned from injury. We have to remember the season started without Ronnie Mcleod. Yep. So to see the way that he has really stepped up and grown with this defense, along with this defense, especially when you're missing the big voices like the Brandon Grahams in a season like this.
Yeah, it's great to see Rodney has found his voice. Quiet leaders are also effective leaders. When you have other guys that can be the guys that get up in front of the team and do the majority of the speaking just because they're comfortable with it, it allows the quiet leaders to lead by example. And I think that's what Rodney has done during his time as an Eagle. It doesn't mean he hasn't been one of the better leaders on the team. It's just you got guys like Fletcher, you got Malcolm, you got Brandon Graham, Jordan Hicks was here. Like, he's been here for a while. We forget how long Ronnie McLeod has been here, and it's great to see that he has a voice in the locker room. He reminds me of? He reminds me of Quentin Michael, who was a very good leader on this team, came here as an undrafted player, but also came into a locker room and in the defense that had enough vocal leaders that he didn't have to necessarily be the guy, but he was a sponge, soaked it all up, understood what it meant to be a leader of this team. And when those guys left, when the Brian Dawkins left, when the Jeremiah Trotters left, Quentin Michael's voice became bigger, particularly on that side of the football. And it doesn't mean he wasn't a good leader earlier. It just means other people were doing it. And that's I kind of feel with Rodney. He's always had this ability. He sees that this team this year needs him to be one of the guys to step up. It can't be Fletcher all the time. You got to have another voice there. And Rodney has the resume. He's won a championship. He's played in big games. He has the respect of the young players on his team.
And Jordan Mailata was on Eagles Game Plan this week talking about Jason Kelsey and said he's a guy that makes everybody right around him, not just offensive linemen, but receivers, tight ends, the quarterback, everybody. And I feel like Rodney has that effect on defense. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that the defensive turnaround started happening when he got inserted back in the lineup. He does a lot of hidden things that I don't think we were going to notice on the outside, but he's one of those fixers on the back end of this defense.
And when you look at what's ahead for the Eagles, Ronnie McLeod was asked about it and he touched on it. There's 2 games to go. Yeah. They're both NFC East opponents. One's at home, one's on the road. And they're in the driver's seat. The Eagles are in full control of what happens next. And it's going to be up to the Rodney McLeods and the Jason Kelceys to get this team through this push and this final stretch. Because like you said, they've been here, done that. And we mentioned this earlier on the kickoff show. This coaching staff has done a great job in riding with these young players, letting them go through the ups and downs of a season. But now it's up to these veteran guys to pull them through.
Yeah, and I think the coaching staff has done a great job leaning on their veterans, right? There's a lot of coaches that are here that are in new positions, right? And they, for a team that was supposed to be growing as a young team and with sort of moderate to lower expectations, they have exceeded those expectations, and now they find themselves in a playoff run. Well, this is new for a lot of them, except for the guys that have won a championship here. So now it's time to lean on those guys as well to make sure that their message is getting through to the rest of the players on the team. It's not a position we like being in every year, except for the fact that we have something to play for. And this team has the grit. I think they have the character when you look at the veterans on this team, that they know that there's something special that they can accomplish. But you can't put the cart before the horse. They understand that. They took care of business this week. Not ideal circumstances. They didn't let it become a distraction. Now you get back to a full week of preparation, getting ready for this Washington football team. And believe me, they know what's ahead of them. They know what's at stake. They just don't need to necessarily talk about it and put it out there for everyone else. We'll do that for them.
And it's not just the pregame speeches or the night before in the locker or in the hotel where Jason Kelsey speaks to the whole team, where that part's off on the young guys. It's the everyday. It's the grunt work stuff that nobody else sees, but your teammates see. So Jason Kelsey setting that example for younger offensive linemen, and you go right down the list. All of those veterans, this is when you're leaning on them most, but it's the everyday stuff. It's not just the stuff under the lights.
I think it was interesting, too, how these players have all said that they've been through a lot this season, and you kind of forget because of the success that they've had recently. You have to remember they started it off 2-5. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of criticism surrounding this team. Obviously, injuries are a part of the game, and you never want to see players go down, but it happens, right? You don't want to lose Brandon Graham in the beginning of the season, but you did. And then you're dealing with injuries along the offensive line that you don't want to deal with. But to see that they can now end the season with 9 or 10 wins, the turnaround has been quite impressive.
Yeah, and that's where I will lean more towards the coaches, because that's really where their impact has come in at. When you're in that first year, it's very easy to start second-guessing yourself, switching everything up, and sort of getting out of character. They seem to have stuck to the game plan. I don't see any finger pointing going on. There is no infighting going on. Everybody is in this thing together. They believe in the coaches, and that's big. When you're going through tough times, it's the only way you're going to fight out of those tough times is by doing it together, not by pointing fingers. That's one of the things that I've liked about this team, that I'm impressed with a young coaching staff that's getting this first opportunity, is that in this city, when adversity hits, it can spiral out of control. It can snowball. It doesn't seem like that has happened with this team, with this coaching staff, and the credit should go to Nick Sirianni and his staff, because when things aren't going well, it's up to those guys to really set a tone and be an example for the players. When the coaches don't point fingers, when the coaches don't get out of character, the players know that they need to stay focused and stay in character. And it seems like that's what's happened with this football team. And that's why they find themselves in this position.
And it's something, I feel like when people talk about it on the outside in media, it's always about, oh, he lost the locker room. The coach lost the locker room. Everything you just said gets umbrellaed in that one little, 4-phrase sentence. And I think when you look at Nick Sirianni and this coaching staff and what they've done, they've pushed all the right buttons with this team. And the veterans have kind of repaid that with how they have played and with how they have acted, and you see the young players all following suit. We continue to see players get better throughout the course of this season. Young players and even the young veterans as well, continuing to improve on both offense and defense in this new scheme.
I'm interested to know what both of you think about what we learned from this team today. Because like we kind of touched on, things did look different than what we've been used to the past few weeks. Good special teams performance for the most part. Good passing game. The defense really holding down 2 running backs, again, who have had success in the National Football League. So I'm just curious to know what you think we learned from the Philadelphia Eagles today, knowing what's to come.
For me, I think we learned that there's some fight and some grit to this team. We talk about this team trying to, carve out its identity and figure out who they are. Well, some of that applies to schemes out there on the field, production out there on the field, but also some of that applies to the intangibles. And, you may be a certain way as a makeup of a team early in the season because there's a lot of unknown there. But as the season goes, you start to form an identity as well as whether or not you're a tough team, a team that will throw in the towel when things aren't going well, whether or not you're a team that will fight back, play for 60 minutes, all those things that coaches like to use to identify what their characteristics of their players are. Well, I think with this team, I've been pleasantly surprised at the amount of grit and fight that I'm seeing from the young players. I already know what's there with Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, all these guys. But it's the younger guys that you just don't know how they're going to respond and react to things until they're placed in that position. And the quarterback is one of those guys that he's been under the microscope all year long. And when things aren't going well, he isn't pointing fingers. He isn't making excuses. He's working hard. He puts his head down. And I think that rubs off on the rest of the players, particularly on that young offensive side of the football.
To me, I learned that this team found another way to be able to win a football game. And I think good football teams find ways to win games outside of what that blueprint has been. And what has the blueprint been over the last couple of months? They're going to run the heck out of the football. They're going to control the clock, and they're going to play efficient defense. Well, the Eagles lost the time of possession battle today. They didn't run for 150 yards. They didn't hit that 175-yard mark that they had done for the previous 7 games. So I think looking at the way this team won, defense, special teams, making some big plays when it mattered, and the offense being opportunistic. That's a good way to be able to come out and win a football game when things don't go well.
Well, with that, we're actually going to hear from the quarterback. Jalen Hurts is at the podium.
Tale of two halves today.
Yeah, I think it's another week where we've kind of come out and obviously not executed like we wanted to, but I've always admired from day one the fight of this team, the resiliency of this team, the grit and perseverance of this team. And, you look at this football team right now, and I just think we have so much character in how we do things, how we operate, what we strive for, how we work every day, and how we're able to overcome. So I was very happy about that today.
What's your explanation for why the offense started so slowly in the first half?
It starts with me. Had some different things we just didn't execute, but we put it together, made some big plays, and put up some points.
Why the Randall jersey, Jalen?
I'm sorry?
Why the Randall jersey?
Oh man, one of the greatest, and obviously an icon here. And I always talk about how much it means to me to be able to play for this organization, and knowing the great dual-threat quarterbacks I've had come before me, Mike Vick, McNabb, Five, and Randall Cunningham, and I just want to play at a high level and make them proud because they come before me.
So the touchdown pass to Lane, what did you see on the play, and how happy were you guys to see him get in the end zone?
Well, I'll just say this. I know Lane is he's been. Y'all, whoever votes, they motivate him. He was very motivated all week by not making the Pro Bowl, and I'm happy he got him one. I know we exchanged jerseys after the game actually, because I've never thrown a touchdown to an offensive tackle, but he's a freak athlete, but never thrown a touchdown to an offensive tackle, and I gave him my jersey, signed it, gave it to him, and he gives me his jersey and leaves it in my locker, and he wrote on there, he said, when I caught that ball, I didn't know what to think. All I could think was what y'all know about them Texas boys. And it's just so much fun to see him out there making plays like that, and obviously playing at such a high level like he has all year at tackle. And I know, he may not be in the Pro Bowl, but I know he better be first-team All-Pro, the player he is.
Did you take something off the throw? Did you have to take something off that throw? Or?
Nah, I worked out with Lane a lot in the offseason, so he was equipped and well prepared.
Did he always catch it in practice?
Yeah.
Jalen, could you tell that
Played quarterback in high school.
Yeah. Could you tell that moment meant more to the team because of what Lane kind of battled back from and went through this season?
Well, I think it's a testimony of perseverance and obviously being strong. You know what I mean? And Lane knows that his teammates has his back. He knows I have his back, and going through the things that he went through earlier in the season, obviously being able to come back and be with us and be a big part of our football team and our offense. I'm happy for him, but I'm happy that he's good. I'm happy he got an end zone today.
Jalen, your other touchdown pass, what do you notice about Devonta's footwork and his awareness when he's on these catches?
Well, that's a big-time play. That's a big-time play and a big-time moment in the game. And that's 2 weeks in a row he's made big-time toe-tapping plays, dragging that foot. And it's something we practice all the time. We preach all the time. So Devonta, he may be in his first year, but, he's a true pro and how he prepares and the different things that may come up in the game. So big-time play.
Go back to your sophomore year in college and find a game when you had 2 carries as a starter. I guess what's the reason for that, and is that something that is going to change going forward?
I'm sorry?
To have only 2 carries for you as a starter?
That's just kind of how the game went. That's kind of how the game went.
Is that because of the ankle, or was that the game plan?
This is kind of how the game went.
Did the referees explain why they needed to further review the touchdown throw to Devonta at all, and what was going on in the field while you guys were waiting?
I was a little confused on that, but I mean, I thought it was a catch. It was a catch, and we got it in.
How, Devonta had a nice jump ball catch, as did Quez. What does it mean to have receivers be able to make plays on balls up in the air?
It's a big thing. It's a big thing for those guys to be able to go up there and make those plays. And I tell them that I trust them regardless of what's going on, regardless of who's saying this. I trust them to go out there and make plays, and they do. You're gonna have your miscues. You're gonna have some drops here and there, but that doesn't faze me and my belief in the receivers, everybody on that field.
Jalen, what were your expectations for yourself heading into this season for the team, and how close have you and the team come to meeting those?
It's a well-rounded question, but I'll tell you honestly, I stay in the moment with everything. Everybody has goals. Everybody has dreams and things that they want to accomplish. We put so much work into this. So there are big dreams and big goals that we want to achieve, but right now in this moment, I'm happy, kind of bounced back and found a way to win this game and win in a good fashion. And we'll enjoy it for 24 hours and move on to play Washington at Washington.
You always talk about, when you have a good game, you talk about whether you won or not. When you have a bad game, you talk about whether you won or not. The winning seems to be the only thing that really matters to you. You guys are a winning team now for the first time, and I think you qualify for the playoffs if it ended today.
I'm gonna cut you off.
What does that matter?
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm not in the business of talking about anything but being in the moment. And everything that we do, it's focused on getting better every day and being 1-0 every day. And we know as a football team, if we control the things that we can control, it should be all right. So any external factors, any rat poison out there, everybody's, I don't really care for it. I'm not trying to hear it. We know as a football team, and I know in my heart that we've yet to play our best game. We've yet to put it all together. And we're striving for that. And I know it'll come at the right time, but we're striving for that. So.
Nick exonerated you on the pass in which Dallas got open on the busted coverage. How did you see it?
Well, put the play in, and we're expecting 7 bracket. So basically 29, the safety McKinney from Alabama, he's bracketing Rager, and they're playing kind of in and out, right? But they're in quarters, cover 7. So you got to find a single, maybe. But in that play, what I was coached to do, just go through it as a pure progression, work the shallow to the running back coming, only throw that versus a certain look. And my shallow popped, and McKinney fell off and drove on the shallow after I threw the ball. So McKinney made a really good play, and they busted the coverage backside, so he was wide open over there. So my pre-snap look did not give me what I wanted to throw the corner to Dallas, but definitely looking after the fact. It's easy to say throw them the ball, but hey, you're going to miss something like that, And as a quarterback, you want to play on schedule and get the ball out on time and try your best to do that. And just trust your preparation and your reads and your progressions. And you're going to have guys that pop, but you got to try and stay on schedule and do those things, and those happen.
Thanks, Phil. Let's guys.
Jalen Hurts likes to stay in the present, but we're going to look a little bit in the past while we have a few more minutes left of the show. Earlier today, Fran broke down one of the big defensive plays earlier on in the game in this week's Ricoh Review.
All right, so this week here on the Ricoh Review, I want to go back to the very first third down of the game for this Eagles defense. Again, holding the New York Giants to just 3 points in the first half, and a big part of that was their success on third down. And I thought they really mixed up some looks against a young quarterback in Jake Fromm. First third down of the game, it's 3rd and long, and you can see the Eagles, they're showing pressure here. There's the potential threat for a number of different blitzers from the second level. So there's a lot now that quarterback Jake Fromm and this Giants offensive line has to handle. Now, at the snap of the ball, what I think is happening is the Giants have double chips called in here just to help out these offensive tackles. You're going to see at the top that the tight end, he's going to help out with a little bit of a chip here on Derek Barnett, and you're going to get the running back. He's also going to have eyes on Josh Sweat as well, just to kind of help out that offensive tackle if necessary. Now, what happens when offensive tackles think that they've got chip help on their outside? they might make sure that they protect that inside shoulder, thinking, hey, I've got a running back helping my outside. So we're going to get back to that here in a little bit. Let's get into what the Eagles are doing defensively, because again, you've got Ronnie McLeod, TJ Edwards, and Jannard Avery all walked up close to the line of scrimmage with the threat of all of these guys coming. Now, obviously, not all of them are going to blitz. So you're going to see TJ Edwards. He's going to get out of there. Rodney McLeod, he's going to drop out as well. The Eagles have a nice TT stunt, tackle stunt. So you have Fletcher Cox and Hargrave both working inside. And then you also have Jannard Avery looping back around as well. And he's going to loop into that B gap. We're going to let this run for a second, and let's just see how all of this plays out. Again, you've got that chip from the tight end at the top of the screen. The offensive tackle at the bottom, he's also expecting some chip help. And you can see he's kind of undersetting. He's letting Josh Sweat take that outside angle because he thinks that he's got that running back helping. But look at those running backs' eyes. Where is he going? He's got to handle the blitzer because Jannard Avery, who started here, he's looping inside right into that B gap. So the running back, he can't help with the chip on Josh Sweat. He has to pick up the blitzer. So that leaves Josh Sweat one-on-one with the offensive tackle, and he's able to run the hoop here and get home to Jake Fromm. Impacts this throw, forces an incomplete pass, and the Eagles get off the field on third down. One of many examples of how not all pass rush is about sacks. You love to get pressures and find ways to be able to get off the field. Here, Josh Sweat gets a hit on the quarterback, forces the incomplete pass, and the Eagles force a punt.
Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. All right, guys, here we go. 3 nominees. We talked about them all night. Ronnie McLeod coming up with that big interception to light the fire to start the second half. Next up, we got the Rook, Devonta Smith, 5 receptions for 80 yards, and of course, that touchdown. And lastly, Josh Sweat making an appearance this week, 4 total tackles and a sack. What do we think?
Well, you know, I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball. I thought Ronnie McLeod really changed this game with that interception early in the second half, and it gave the Eagles the opportunity to get their first touchdown of the game, and I thought from that point, they didn't look back.
I thought you were going to go Devonta Smith for sure. I thought you were going Slim Reaper there. I am going to go with Rodney McLeod. I'll go with the fixer there. I think that big play was really the catalyst moving forward.
I will get your votes in, Eagles fans, and here's a reminder. There's a new way for you to get a recap of each game. Check out our voice app on Alexa and Google devices. For more information, visit PhiladelphiaEagles.com/voice. Now it's time to look ahead, okay? Tonight's Jameson Nightcap, we're going to look at Sunday's opponent, and looks a little familiar, the Washington football team. This will be the 3rd game the Eagles have played in 13 days. When they hit the road to take on the Washington football team on Sunday, January 2nd at 1 o'clock. Of course, they are 6-8. They play tonight. If you want to know who the Eagles are seeing the final 2 weeks of the season, tune in tonight to Sunday Night Football. Again, another huge opportunity for the Birds on the road.
Yeah, and I love Jalen's demeanor, you know, when being, I guess, prompted to answer questions about the playoffs or what have you. He understands about the rat poison. But the bottom line is, on the inside, they know what the task is, and they know what lies ahead for them. They just faced this team less than a week ago. They're going to see them Sunday. They're ready for it. It's when you can see the finish line there at the end, but you know you got business to take care of before you get to the finish line. I think the Eagles are in the right frame of mind. It won't be easy, but it won't be because they overlooked this football team. I mean, if they don't win next week, it'll be because Washington came out and earned it.
It feels like just this week we were talking about Washington, right? I think it's such a unique situation with such a short turnaround, but Eagles take on Washington down on the road, their last road game here of the regular season here in 2021.
Yeah, and they've been pretty good on the road this year, so hopefully they'll get another one to close out their road schedule. That'll do it for us here on the Postgame Show. Be sure to join us on the kickoff show next Sunday before the Eagles play the Washington football team. But for now, for myself, Fran Duffy, and Igrease, happy holidays and go Birds.